So, Mo Salah is gone at the end of the season. Mo Salah is leaving Liverpool in the summer. In hindsight, do we think this is a year too late? I think that's tough to say. It's very hindsighty to say because obviously had one of the best seasons, one of the best Premier League seasons of all time last year. Broke ridiculous records. So saying that the perfect time to leave was after you've had arguably your best season is silly. I mean, just objectively is silly. But his record, his goals record, ridiculous. 255 goals, 122 assists in 435 games. That's outrageous. That's a goal involvement in 87% of his games. What a footballer. And it wasn't even like he wasn't even like a Hazard type footballer where you'd watch him and you'd be thinking, okay, like this guy is next level good, this guy is unbelievable. He was just inevitable. Absolutely inevitable. You knew that if you were going into a game, he was going to score. He was going to score a goal. He was going to be involved in a goal. He turned into such an elite finisher, which is weird because I remember when Liverpool were linked with him or when Liverpool bought him, I remember thinking and saying to one of my friends at the time, I remember thinking, he's going to score a lot of goals, but I also think he'll miss a lot of chances. He seemed like, pre-Liverpool, he seemed like the type of player that would get hundreds and hundreds of chances, but his finishing lacked. His finishing he wasn't a top level finisher, meaning that he'd score a lot of goals, but he'd also miss a lot of chances. And it sounds like a terrible take in hindsight, and it is a terrible take in hindsight, I guess. But I think at the time that was true. As soon as he joined Liverpool, his finishing just went up a notch. He just turned into this elite finisher, which was really the biggest part of his game that was missing. He had pace, he had the ability to get in behind when a midfielder needed him to, and he had the ability to be found as well. But it was his finishing which somewhat let him down. I mean, not anymore. Not since he joined Liverpool. His finishing went up a notch. What an outrageous footballer. I mean, I read that he's walking away from... Obviously, he signed the 2-year contract this time last year, roughly, I think it was. So he is essentially leaving 1 year earlier than that. And he's said to be on 400,000-ish. So if you're walking away from that, that is quite big. Where he'll go next is a really interesting one. There'll be talks of Saudi. You'd imagine that's quite a likely place for him to go. The amount of money that he'll get offered to go to a Saudi team is going to be silly. Absolutely silly. I mean, if Ronaldo and Mane are both still at Al Nassr next year, if we see a Mane, Salah, Ronaldo front three, I mean, João Felix is there. They've got some front line at the moment. If he goes there, geez, I mean, that would be outrageous. He is going to get offered so much money by Saudi. I guess another option would be somewhere like a PSG. You could see him going there. Even like a Real Madrid, maybe taking a punt on him for a year or two, potentially. Again, they'd have to offer so much money. I've seen links with Roma. I'm not sure that Roma will pay what is needed to be paid. I mean, it's hard. It'll be hard for him to turn down like Saudi level money, PSG potentially level money, if he's wants to go to Roma, because Roma won't be able to offer that kind of money. I get why he'd want to go back there, of course, but whether he gets offered that, I'm not sure. Maybe America, of course, maybe an MLS team. We've seen that. I think Griezmann was announced that he's going to the MLS now. It's a very interesting one. Very, very interesting one. It's, like I say, I think he could have left at the end of last season. He absolutely could have left at the end of last season. But I think it's very difficult to do that when you've just played essentially your best season in a Liverpool shirt. Numbers-wise, anyway. I'm not sure that he was at his best in terms of footballing-wise. I think that was back in the kind of Champions League, Premier League winning years. And, I mean, he's essentially won everything at Liverpool, right? He's won the Champions League, he's won the league twice now. He's won it all. He's broke so many records. Pretty much every single record he could have broken, he has broken. He's broken every single Liverpool goals record. He's broken every single African in the Premier League goals, assists record. He's in the top 10 for Premier League goals. I think he's even in the top 10 for Premier League assists, which is just outrageously impressive. Obviously, he's been at Liverpool for so long, but that is still ridiculously impressive. But it's so interesting to think that the player that was at Chelsea, the player we saw at Chelsea, who had so many flaws to his game, so many flaws, but then did his time in Italy and then has now come to Liverpool and become one of the best players ever, essentially. Certainly one of the best Premier League players ever. And again, like I say, it wasn't that he was like the most easy on the eye. I mean, some of his goals were obviously outrageous. So efficient though, and so inevitable. And I think that is the key part. He was so inevitable. You just knew that if you're playing against Liverpool for a good 7 or 8 year stretch, if you're playing against Liverpool, that you are pretty much going to find it impossible to stop Salah scoring or being involved in a goal. I presume this move means that Liverpool won't get a transfer fee for him. I presume this means that he is going to be finishing his contract early. Maybe that contract wasn't actually just a set 2 years. Maybe it was a 1 year with an option to extend it for another year. Because if that is the case and he's not walking away from it, then being able to say that you're leaving at the end of the year is surely impossible, because Liverpool would have had to have accepted a bid for him if he's under contract. So I'd guess he's either walking away from that contract and taking the wage hit, or that was a contract where it had an option to extend. Because otherwise, I don't know how you can guarantee that you are leaving the club at the end of the season. But that Liverpool team under Jurgen Klopp was just one of the best that we've seen in the Premier League. Klopp made players better, but you'll see some managers where they make them better temporarily. Whilst they're managing them, for example. Whilst they're managing them, they become a better player because of the way they manage. Klopp made players better permanently. You see someone like Mane. Mane came in, he wasn't this world beater. Turned into it. Salah, again, exactly the same. Bobby Firmino, even the likes of Jordan Henderson, James Milner at times, like Gini Wijnaldum. These players weren't unbelievable. Even Joe Gomez at times, and I'm not ever saying that Joe Gomez was world class, of course not. But under Klopp, when he was next to Van Dijk in that partnership in that season, that was some partnership. He looked incredible. The two fullbacks, Trent, Robertson. Klopp made players better, but he made them better permanently, which is really impressive, and not many managers can do that. But Mo Salah goes down as one of the Premier League legends. He will be in conversations when we're talking about the top Premier League players, when we're talking about a Premier League all-time 11. He will be in these conversations, and rightly so. And I'm really interested to see where he goes next. I would imagine it's probably Saudi, and I don't blame him at all for doing that, because the amount of money that he will get offered will be outrageous. But that is all for this one. I've got a couple of videos lined up for the international break, so the next one I'm going to do probably is looking at our chances of relegation. I'm going to predict the results of all 4 teams that are involved, and then I'm also going to do one where, a bit of a more fun one, where if Spurs go down, which Spurs players would I take at West Ham? That'll be an interesting one. But yeah, make sure you hit like, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.